Good morning, everybody. It's Angela Todd, and I'm here this morning to talk to you about archives. So, there are three ways that archives are traditionally made: automatically, manually, and through special projects. And I want to think about how these are made because there are structures in place, right, that mean a lot of people are left out of archives, which means they're left out of history because history is written depending on what is being saved. So let's talk about it. First is automatically, and that's also sometimes called records management. I have notes over here. That's when big organizations, corporations, churches, schools, hospitals, city governments, national governments, they keep their archives on a schedule. They have a standard criteria about what to keep, when they collect it, and how long they keep it. So they also may destroy some of their archives on a schedule, right? Depending on what laws are in place in their state, county, nation, and what those laws prescribe, and then what the goals of the organization may be. So that's how things are saved automatically. Next, our house archives are saved manually. And if you've hung around, you know I worked in an academic archive for 18 years, and a lot of people decided, I want this saved. My research, my academic work, my publications, my vacation photos, all of it, right? So they would box it up and bring it to me in the archive. And many lovely people did. Frank did, Ron did, Walter did. You see the pattern, right? And you can imagine the criteria then behind what gets saved that way. They have the self assurance to actually believe in what they've done, and the foresight and follow through to actually box it up and bring it to me. Also, that usually depends on a traditional kind of criteria for achievement, which may or may not stay the same over time or apply to different populations in the same way. But when we think about what deserves to be saved, even I often, we kind of fall back on what traditional criteria have been. And that leaves a lot of people out. Women in particular, it's been the hardest part of my work is finding the women who believe that their stuff is worth saving. And so that's another way that we get left out of history, right? There's a gap there, and I'm wanting to fill it with the women, the historically excluded populations, poor folks, differently abled folks. There's a lot that needs to be saved still. The third way is through special projects. And I read a while back about a woman from my, excuse me, at my old alma mater who was doing a documentary on theaters. And so she did a big oral history project where she interviewed theater owners, puppeteers, film projectors, ushers, customers of the theater. So she had a really holistic view of the theaters in that city during the time that she had outlined it. So you see how thorough history really could be. So I hope that, oh, whoops, sorry, my notes. So there are also a lot of history projects that you've heard of that were special history projects with oral histories included and sort of bringing a population of women or other populations into the spotlight. I know in Pittsburgh there was a big project a couple of decades ago now about women in construction in the 1970s. There have been a lot of interview series with the greatest generation. Remember the flurry of that before they passed? I think we're at the end of a flurry of activity around interviewing Holocaust survivors before they passed. So I want to get us to think proactively about not rushing to do it before they pass, first of all. And I'm hoping that we can work together to fill the gap in history. If you know somebody whose history should be saved, and I think you do, tag them below, tell them how important you think they are, and suggest that they need to consider it. Because the way things work out in like national policy changes work out on real people. And we're not going to know the effects of the decisions that we vote for example, unless we know how they were experienced on the ground, as it were. So I invite you to consider saving your own archives. And if you have any questions about how to do that, I'm going to leave a link below this video in what you should be saving in your archive just to get started. Just start the process. Okay, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you have a great Thursday. It's very dreary here in Pittsburgh, but I'm off to battle it. Thanks. Bye-bye.